So we briefly talked about terms and like terms before. And then what did we say about like terms? What must they have? Same variable and same exponent. Okay, so in order for you to be able to add like terms, you must add their coefficient. Remember that? We said that that number that comes before the letter is called a coefficient. Okay, so add or subtract the coefficient. This is not writing properly today. Of terms that have the same variable and exponent. Right? And we talked about this, and we said that if I have 2a plus 3a, that gives me 5a. Right? And then in a term where you have multiple terms, you're going to look for your like terms, and then you're going to add their coefficient or subtract their coefficient. So if I have this one, for example, it's asking me to simplify. I'm looking for the like terms. What will be my like terms here? So 3a minus 5a. So what does that give me? Negative 2a. I'm just going to delete that equal sign at the end, and I'm going to put it at the front. Okay, because we are simplifying, the equal sign should be at the front. And then what would be your other two like terms? Minus 2b plus b, so that gives me negative 1b or negative b. Remember, if there is no number, it's an invisible 1. So you have negative 2, you're adding 1, that gives you negative 1b. Okay, so can I simplify any more? No, that's it. That's the most simple form. There is no more like terms that I can collect. Let's look at b. So where are my like terms in b? 2x squared. You don't, so this basically is 2x squared. 2 is not to the power of 2. It's only the x that's to the power of 2. Okay? So 2x squared and then minus 4x squared. Remember, you take the sign that comes before it. Okay? So 2x squared, take away 4x squared. That's going to give you... I'm going to take the x terms. So I have 3x plus 5x. That gives me plus 8x. And then I have negative 6 plus 7. That's plus 1. Okay, so you're always looking for the like terms, the terms that have the same variable and the same exponent, and you're adding or subtracting their coefficient. Anyone have problems with these? Now, a lot of times after you do all your work with the polynomial, you're going to have to simplify. So simplification, which is this, is part of almost every question, okay, where you have to collect like term. Now, I have a question for you, and this is the question. You went to Taco Bell, okay, and then you wanted to buy, what was it, 2 tacos. So each combo is 2 tacos and a pop, okay? And then you're a family of 3, right? You want to buy 3 combos. How many tacos are you going to get? 6. How many pops are you going to get? 3, right? If you get 5, they've done something wrong. You need to go back and check with the manager, right? Good. Now, if I'm going to write this as a mathematical equation, right, it's going to be 2 tacos plus 1 pop, right? And I'm going to buy 3 of them. So I'm not going to tell in my head, if I'm going to do the math, that's going to be 6 tacos, because if I multiply the 3 by the 2, that's going to give me 6 tacos. And then it's going to be 3 times the 1 pop, which is 3 pop. So what I did right now is a mathematical method that's called distribution. Okay? So it's the same thing if you have, instead of tacos and pop, if you have A's and B's, or X's and Y's, or whatever letters you want to use. Okay? So if I have, for example, 3 times 2x plus 1, if I want to expand this, if I want to simplify this, what would it be? 6x plus 3. You're not going to get only 1 pop. You're going to get 3 pops. Okay, plus 3. Because what we did here is we did what we call the distributive property. Okay, where you're multiplying that number that's in front with everything inside your bracket. Does that make sense? What doesn't make sense? Mm-hmm. Because what's 3 times 2? So you get 6x. What's 3 times 1? So you get plus 3. Okay? Are we good with that? So you're always multiplying the term or the letter or the number that's in front of your bracket by each term inside your bracket. I'm going to the monomial because in this case, monomial means, does anyone know what the word monomial means? Single term. Yeah, monomial means single term. What does binomial mean? 2, because it's bi. And then you'll have trinomials, which is 3. Okay? So you're going to have to get used to these terminology. Okay, so if I want to expand this a times b plus c, I'm going to have to follow my distributive property, right? So I'm going to multiply that a by b. What's a times b? Good, ab. How about a times c? AC. Yep. Okay. Let's look at the next example. So sometimes it gets a little bit trickier if I'm adding too many letters, too many things, right? So, but you have to be careful what you're doing. So you have negative 2a multiplied by 3a minus 2b. Okay? So remember that I'm multiplying my monomial by each term inside the binomial, inside the bracket. It's negative 6a squared. Now, negative because negative times positive is negative. 2 times 3 is 6. A times a squared. Do we remember that? Yeah. So, negative and a positive, that's a negative. We okay with that? 2 times 3 is 6. Now, anytime you are multiplying something by itself, a letter by itself, so if I have a times a, I don't write it as a times a, I write it as a squared. If I have, let's say, a times a times a times a, I write it as a to the power of 4, right? So, because I can't write it, well, I can, but it doesn't look right if I write it as negative 6aa, right? I will write it a squared. Okay, are we okay with that? Okay, now I'm going to multiply the negative 2a by the negative 2b. Be careful with your signs. Plus 4ab. So be careful with your signs. This is where the most mistakes happen. Okay, negative times negative is positive. 2 times 2 is 4. A times b, unfortunately, I have to write it as ab. There's no other way to make it simpler. Are we okay with that? Is there a like? Do I have like terms? No, so I can't simplify anymore, right? I can't collect like terms. That's it. That's the most simple form that I can leave it as. All right, so if I'm looking at this question right here, this is multiple things happening, right? In order for you to be able to collect like terms, you can't have brackets, okay? The brackets means jail. You can't meet with people if you're in jail, unfortunately. You have to release them. So these people here, they have to get released first, okay? You have to release them. To release them, yeah, it's not as simple as you think. You can't just erase this, okay? So multiply by what?
2.
No. Who said minus? That 2x is here. Then you have a negative invisible 1 here. So what is being affected here is the negative 1 is going to affect whatever is inside the bracket.
Why is there a negative invisible 1?
Because there's a negative.
Because there's a negative. Negative, that means it's a negative 1 in front of the bracket. Okay? So
The x is just like the x by itself, you know?
it's a invisible 1, yeah.
Sneaky.
So that is negative x plus 8y minus 3y, right? This doesn't happen, and nothing happened to the negative 3y because it's not inside the bracket. Okay? So whatever is inside the bracket right away gets multiplied with the terms inside the bracket. So if you guys want to look at this for a second, okay, pretend that these two terms, the 2x and the negative 3y, don't exist. Right? Pretend that these don't exist. It's the same thing as if what you just had here, right? Where you have a negative 1 multiplied by the x minus the 8y. Yes? Do you guys see that? So I had to multiply this first. Now I can collect like terms if I have any. Do I have like terms?
Yeah.
What are they? So 2x minus x gives me what? Good. Then? Plus 5 what? So you're going to have to add these two. So 8y minus 3y, that gives me 5y. No? You can. You don't have to. You don't have to say 1 apple. You can say an apple. Apple. Right?
2x minus x. Why is not 2 though?
Because 2, you had 2 apples, you ate 1.
Oh, okay.
It's better than the other example. He had 2 apples, he ate 8. I don't know how, but you know. Okay, so you have to remember that this is take away 1, right?
I thought you were just taking with the x. It's that 1.
That's that one. Yeah. Okay, before we go to FOIL, you need to master distribution. Okay, so can I see that worksheet that you guys have? Yeah, we're not doing that. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to do question number 1 and question number 2. And you can work on question number 3 up to D. It might get a little complicated, okay? So 1, 2, 3, you can do A, B, C, D. So question number 2, all of it. Number 1, all of it. Number 2, all of it. Question number 3, A to D.